opinions. We want to start to narrow the field, and you guys can help us do that today. And again, like I said, the last time I felt like we didn't make progress. We heard back from some people that were frustrated. So let's try to move this forward. The other thing is on this brief tour. Oh, and by the way, we moved the meeting here. Everybody knows that. And the reason was we're trying to wrap up the elementary discussions. And this was the last one to see. And this was a renovated plus this newer addition over here. So it was good for all of you to see that. Remember when I talked about credibility? You've been in the buildings, you understand what's happening, you've seen them firsthand. And you've got all the background that we provided in the earlier discussions, the earlier meetings. So Northwood tour, I heard some people along the way say, we've got to see a new building, a new modern building. There's your opportunity there, January 16th. And I think, do we know any more about the bus transportation?
It's available if desired. So I think we want to get a feel from the group of if you would want to utilize school district transportation or if you'd really just rather not ride a school bus and just go there yourself. So we just need to get a feel. Why don't we raise your hands if you would be interested in riding a bus from here up to Northwood, and we can let the district know if we get enough to, I guess, make that work.
It's hard to get there.
So raise of hand, is that, I'm only seeing a few people that are showing interest.
Yeah, for the bus.
So are we
Keep them up for a
offering?
second. Keep them up for a second, because a few more keep coming up.
Okay.
I mean, it's about, what, 40 minutes?
What would you say, Steve?
Oh, no, it's,
32 minutes?
is it that long?
That says it's 32 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So Steve, are we saying it's offered to everyone or just those that expressed interest?
I'm going to advise back to David that there was 12 that are interested, and we'll see what, I don't know what the offer is if there's 12 or not, so I'll find out.
How about minivans?
I don't know how it will be done. Yeah, it could be. Yeah,
Shuttle buses.
I'll just find out what they can do with that.
Once I left school, I never wanted to ride a bus again. I'm surprised that so many raised their hands. So, yes.
When we tour Northwood, is it going to be just an elementary? Is it elementary and high school, middle school? I mean, what's the
It's a
deal with that?
K-12. It has every grade level in it,
Okay.
and it's broken up into multiple areas of elementary, middle, and high school.
Did we decide if we're going to tour renovated too? Are we doing that? Is that
just
what I'll
did.
say?
You kind of just did. Oh, you weren't part of the tour, did you?
Yeah, I mean like other districts.
Other
renovations.
districts?
Yeah.
I don't think we've settled on that.
There's a reach out to, and I don't know if it's set yet, but there's a reach out to North Baltimore.
Okay.
And North Baltimore has both new and renovation. I've not heard any dates on that,
Okay.
but that was the other district that I know that David reached out to.
Okay.
So, and I asked about a week ago, and he had not heard a date. So as soon as we hear anything, I will make sure I let everybody know.
Yeah, we will have another meeting. We'll talk a little bit about that towards the end of the meeting. Okay, so again, depending on the progress we make today, it's probably getting close to shifting gears to where we can wrap up the elementary discussion and start to focus on high school. But we'll talk about that at the end of the meeting. Okay, can we get into the presentation now? Okay, so educational vision, as I indicated, we met with the district. That was Mr. Strucci, Dr. McCarty, the curriculum director. There were a couple of teachers from this group joined in, and I'm looking around, and I'm not seeing either one of them. But they're normally in this group. And we started off just some general discussions. I was trying to gather some key words so that we could help express this back to you. And then we also had a graphic I'll show you. So it talks about learning communities. I think you're probably familiar with that. You know what you're seeing here. Chris will talk a little bit about grade groupings and things like this. Learning communities. maybe a little more defined as far as pods and such that have some opportunities for the kids to spill out into extended learning areas. I'll show you a graphic on that. Teacher collaboration areas. Okay, it's not just a lounge, but an area where teachers, especially of the same grade level, can collaborate and just help each other. Ability to team teach. I don't know that I've seen that. Help me out if you've got it here somewhere. Steve, have we seen movable walls or anything like that in this district?
They're in the middle school.
In the middle school, okay. I kind of started that tour, it was all fresh and new, and I had to go, so I didn't see the whole building. Extended learning areas, I think by this time you understand what those are. Just, opportunities for kids to move outside of the classroom a little bit for some small group work or maybe some larger teaming while the teacher can supervise both areas. Small group spaces such as tutor, small group work, typically enclosed. Transparency, that's what I was kind of alluding to here a little bit earlier. Steve, this will be available, won't it, this PowerPoint?
Yes, I will make this available. Yep.
Okay, because I was noticing some people taking notes and I thought maybe save them the effort of doing that. So transparency, and by the way, I repeated every bit of this right back to the administration to make sure we're on track and we're not saying something that we shouldn't be. But transparency is, just that ability to allow the kids to move around a little bit while you can still keep an eye on them, okay? Presentation platforms. I don't see that too much here without going to a gym or something like that. But in these pods, imagine a raised area where kids can actually do presentations to other kids and teachers and such. Movable, comfortable furnishings or furniture. It's just that, the ability to have separate seating or group seating. They refer to it as nesting tables and such. But just the ability to move furnishings around easily. Common spaces for the whole school to meet at one time. I think that kind of speaks for itself. For instance, if you've got plays or presentations of one sort or another. Opportunities for responsive learning. How many teachers do we have, elementary teachers or any teachers today? Got a handful? Okay.
Retired.
Who's retired?
Retired.
Retired? Thank you. So responsive learning. Who wants to explain that? I was hoping for a volunteer from one of the teachers. Dr. McCartney kind of rambled on about responsive learning, and I had two teachers with me, and I looked at them and I said, "Now you'll explain that in the meeting, right?" And they said, "Yes." So, sensory input spaces, I think you kind of understand that. And then it's kind of stating the obvious here, adequate space, whether it's for student activities or storage or whatever. And then connectivity, whether that's visual, physical, digitally, just more connectivity. Connectivity between classrooms, between the ELAs and such. And then the last bullet is just space that's inspirational, comfortable, and effective. So this was the image that I put in front of them, and it was kind of interesting. And I think you've seen this before, but it's kind of interesting. Mr. Scucci in particular says, yes, that's what we want. You can see it's quite a bit different than what you just toured, whether it's a new or the renovated. You've got very traditional double-loaded corridors here. I refer to that as kind of the industrial age model. Very efficient, very teacher-centered. This is something that kind of embodies all those things that all the bullets that I described. I see Barb.
Are those individual classrooms? Are those classrooms that kids go in and out of and over to the across the
You'll
hall?
see classrooms here, back in here. So they have the ability to move around. Of course, the teacher is going to monitor that and work with them on that.
And so where are the teacher supplies for that particular grade level?
teacher supplies.
Yeah, you like, I mean, I assume they have like a book or a manual, or they look
Yeah.
at things, they have pencils.
Yeah, this is
I
kind
mean,
of.
where's
yeah.
all that
This is-
housed?
Think of this as kind of a diagram to help illustrate the big picture. Okay, so things such as storage rooms and such, I don't know that we've got every bit of that detail in here. In fact, I mentioned a presentation platform outside of the gathering stair. I don't think I see a small platform for presentation. So again,
Well, I mean,
this
I
is an
understand that,
illustration.
but I'm saying, like, that one in the top corner, is that a pretend it's a fourth grade classroom. So those kids then will go over to the center section too, and then they might go across the hall, and then they go back to their home room. I mean, I'm just trying to get the logistics of, you know, you're talking
That's-
about these people, these kids are moving all over. Well, okay, so do they have a central spot, and then they move all over, and then they come back to the spot? Is that the
Yeah,
concept
these
they
are the
want?
things that the teachers would work with as far as setting up. But I would think generally they have a home base.
Okay.
But they have the ability to spill out, they have the ability to get into different learning environments and, you know,
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
every school's a little bit different, but this is kind of the general philosophy.
Okay.
Any other questions on this? So the point that I was trying to make, this looks considerably different. So if the district is trying to go this direction, how do you apply that thinking to these buildings? Okay. It's not impossible. Just to give you kind of a sense of what that could look like, you've got this kind of a configuration. I think you understand that after touring all three buildings. How do you transition? The potential would be you start to do some of these extended learning areas, some small group areas, things of that nature. That's kind of, here's another area is kind of, you know, allowing some large group work. So that is kind of an in-between step, and this would be some major renovation where you're moving a lot of walls and trying to get a little closer to that, kind of just a model that we put together. Pretty much follow that idea? Okay. So I think what the district is saying is they're really more towards this. And so what we're challenged with, you remember we talked about these assessments. This is what the state said you needed to freshen up your buildings. And then we came through and we said, in addition, we found some other things that we felt were the basic maintenance type improvements, systems and finishes and whatever. In addition, if we came in and did some reprogramming, now we've not designed anything, and we could put a much closer number on this than what we're doing here. But we're estimating, gosh, what did we use, 20%? Yeah, I think we increased the budget by 20% to help us move walls around and things like this. Remember all of this back in here covers systems, finishes, and things like this. So the extra 20% was just going to help us to do some demolition and reconfiguring of spaces. Now the thing that concerns us, you're right there at that 2/3. You remember I was talking about the 2/3 rule? Once you hit that, you really should start considering taking buildings offline. Once you add in the reprogramming, our best guess anyway, is you're approaching 80%. And this is Conneaut. Same sort of thing at Kenwood. You're at 66%. When we add in some reprogramming, you're there at, can everyone see that bottom line? Or is that too low? Okay, well, it says 79%. Reprogramming budget, 1.45 million, update, renovate. So the updated renovate to replace ratio is 79%, so almost 80%. We did the same thing for this building. Now remember, this building has new construction. A little over 40% of the total square footage is new. The rest has been freshened up. So the budget for the improvements was relatively small. we kick this one up a slightly higher percent because we don't have the dollars to do the finishes and things like this we do in the others. So we're thinking your 19 or 20% renovate to replace ratio now goes to maybe about 27. Any questions on this?
I mean, is it valid to point out that because there would be less like renovation here, it kind of balances out a little bit with the other two places? I mean, financially speaking, because this one doesn't need to be renovated as much? I don't know if that's a good question or something.
What do you mean balances out?
Well, like.
I think she's
because-
talking
Oh, are you trying to average?
Yeah, like if you
80%?
average all of them,
I-
it's still like.
I personally wouldn't. I think you look at each building is how I would do that.
Alright, that was just a question.
You're doing some advanced math there. Yeah, no, I really think you need to look at a building by building. If you get 80%, I think you're really getting wasteful with your estimate.
So are you covering what it would be to rebuild at each of those sites too? Like, or are you
You're
guys
talking
just
about
do-
new construction?
Yeah, like at Kanya and Kenwood.
I don't think we have that in this slide show, or in this slide presentation, but we have it
We
there.
already do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a question. You talked about renovating Kenwood. Is there a problem with all the understructure with the boiler that causes all the mold and all that stuff? So would you just, if you were renovating, you would be using that same base? Is that a problem?
Well, you're hoping to cover as much as you can with all those assessment dollars as far as upgrading systems and such.
So what you're thinking is that could be replaced, or they could fix that so that they wouldn't have the mold and the heating problems at Kenwood? Because it
That would
looked
be-
like the
yeah, that would
structure
be the
underneath
goal.
was.
That would be the goal, but I think what you need to focus on is, at what point do you not invest into a building?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Do you
Yeah,
think with that?
and I guess from my perspective, I've done this long enough, I've seen renovations, and they look pretty good, but at the end of the day, there's compromises along the way. You can't help but compromise in a renovation. And it's still a renovated facility. Yes, that's,
On a renovation, though, that doesn't mean you can't tear down a portion that's not good, save the portion that is good. If you need to do facilities for your boiler and so forth like that, that could be a totally separate module by itself, and then feed the rest of the building. So you don't have to level the whole building, just level what isn't workable.
so what we're gonna do is have you do some group work, okay? I think we've given you a lot of information, and so I think it's pretty effective to do the small group work and kind of get your thoughts together. If you have questions, just raise your hand, and then we'll start gathering opinions. Question, Bill?
Renovation costs include cost of expanding.
I'm sorry, say that
Your
again.
renovation, replace your renovation.
Yes.
Does that include the cost of expanding the common use areas, like the gymnasiums, the cafeterias? Not at all.
Yeah, no. So the question, if you guys didn't hear it, the question was, does the renovation expand any areas that are common use spaces, such as cafeteria, gymnasium, that sort of thing? No, this isn't included in that. What we added in this last go-around was some reconfiguration to get it more student-centered, to bring it closer in alignment with the educational vision that we heard.
Does your renovation cost include the cost of the expansion that is needed for additional classrooms? I mean, we're hearing that all the buildings are pretty much short classrooms. I think Kenwood had some space, Conneaut is packed,
Yeah.
they're gonna add.
We don't
There's
have,
no expansion in that.
Yeah, I don't believe we have any new square footage
So
in
what
there.
I'm saying is, if you expand those and you don't expand the common areas, which are already inadequate, you have the compromise you were talking about
Right,
with the renovated building.
Yeah.
square footage of the new construction is larger or exactly the same?
We're
In
trying
your
to
comparison.
compare apples to apples.
So it'd be this,
Yeah, yeah.
it'd be the same size, just
Yeah.
brand new.
Right, right. Go ahead, hands are going. I'll get right back to you. Yes.
Do you have, is this hard construction cost? Or have you included
Hard,
soft?
yeah, this is hard and soft combined, so
So you
total
haven't
construction
included
cost.
the cost,
The only thing it wouldn't include, I'm sorry, is any kind of site acquisition when you start talking new. But in this case, most of this focus here is renovation.
have you included portable classrooms?
You're talking about for swing space? No.
No.
Everybody understands swing space?
So basically, if you're gonna talk about renovating,
Okay,
You're
so
gonna
this is a very good point. Make sure everybody hears it. If not, I think I know where you're going with this. If not, I'll repeat it. Go ahead, please.
if you're talking renovating, we're talking a total gut of the
If we get
utilities.
into the reprogramming, there's a lot of movement of walls and such. And
Well, no, I'm talking even if you don't reprogram. You got electrical to replace, you got HVAC to do,
right.
you got asbestos to abate, and so basically you're gonna gut that building, even if you leave all the walls where they're at. So for the year and a half to 2 years, those students are gonna be able to be in that building. Which means you're probably gonna have to rent, lease 30 portable classrooms, plus storage rooms, plus,
Okay, so what do you-
bathroom trailers, plus the utilities.
Let me try to put it in simple terms. What he's talking about is where are the kids when you're doing renovation? So you either put in modulars or you try to do things in phases. And when you do things in phases, understand you're projecting that over more and more years. Contractors are in and out and this sort of thing. So the cost differential between modulars or some kind of swing space starts to offset that. But we don't have any of that factored in at this point.
And you
But it's a
increase,
very, very good point.
and you increase your overall cost
Right.
if you phase.
Yes,
That's not
yes,
different.
that's what I'm
And there
saying.
will be periods of
That's not
time where you
different than
can't
what
have
they're
people in the
doing
building.
with middle school renovations right now, right?
Middle school?
Yeah, hasn't the middle school been renovated?
I can't hear you.
Yeah, so I mean, they've been doing the same thing with the middle
What they
school.
did there, I
like-
believe, is they put on a wing and then they move kids out of the seats.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So,
Repeat the question, so we can do.
oh, I'm sorry, Kat was saying, that's the same as they were doing in middle school, but it's a little bit different, because in the middle school, from what I understand, they built an addition and then they moved kids from the elementaries, is that
That's
right?
incorrect.
No,
No?
that's not,
No, they
no,
were
that's
already in the
wrong. They
middle
were
school.
already.
They just spread out.
Yeah.
We're already in middle school?
It was,
So they
it
had
was
to-
originally for grades 7 and 8,
Yeah.
and that's what our community wanted. Then later, we squeezed in 6 because of the space, so then that.
In the original
probably-
bill?
In the original bill.
Okay, but you
So
still
then-
have, you still fit on that, right?
Yeah.
So the addition, you didn't have to move kids.
No,
to put an
we
addition.
also no need for
Okay.
swing space.
Okay, yes. I'm sorry?
What did we do here? When they did the addition?
So they did the addition, the renovation, what did you do here?
We have another
Did you
school.
truck it in, Donnie?
The preschool wasn't lit, so they didn't move in until all the building was done.
There was a question back here a while ago.
Right.
I want to talk about footprint and square foot enrollment. It looked to me like they're going to have to add on at least Kenwood and Coney Because if you look at the square footage, the enrollment per square foot, and you look at the projection for 2025, 26, they're going to be in minus, all the schools are going to be minus 23 to minus 27%. Those Kenwood and Coney, in the square footage that they have now, I mean, visually, they're small. They're small for classrooms, they're small for storage, they're small for interventions. So I don't see how you can take that same footprint and renovate. And accommodate, everything you want to do, plus the projected enrollment, and that's according to the state.
starting base, obviously, because
Yeah.
you can add, I mean, obviously they're gonna need to add on, or they're going to need to rebuild. I mean, that is an those are the options, right? Like, I mean.
Again,
to get
what we're
whatever
trying to do
you
is
want.
compare renovation to new. You're kind of taking it to the next level of capacity discussion and stuff like that. There were questions back here, I'm sorry.
As I understood it, when the state handled it, he said when you had the distribution of the students at the time, that the state would help you when you did the renovation.
Swing space, is that what you mean? Or you got this swing
That's what I
space?
understood.
Yeah, they factored that in. And at some point, we're probably out to start building in studies for that as well, on top of that. Okay. Tim, I think we want to start moving to some of the small group work and some.
Additional space.
All right, most all of you have worked with these before. It's time for you to give us some of your personal opinions. Remember, no names to these, no anything else. We're trying to get just some baseline information again. Does everybody have a clicker?
Yes, but I have a very important question.
Okay.
You're asking everybody in this room to now vote, correct? How many people in this room have not been to all of your presentations or tours? Because I think
Okay.
several.
This is just baseline information, though, that is going to, remember, when he talks about trying to wrap up elementary, all we're trying to do is get a clue of what your community is starting to feel. And then we have to talk next meeting at the middle school and start adding middle school, high school, because your master plan has to be K-12. So, trust me, these information pieces are going to be pretty much, what's your personal opinion? You've had enough time to at least give me a gut feel for what do you think about this, or what do you think about that? So, let's go through this, and hopefully then it'll make some sense to you.
What do you mean by
One of the things that we talked about, Dan just gave you the vision, the educational vision. We want to know, what does your where's your community with your educational vision? Where are you in identifying those parts that he talked about? Do you strongly agree with that? Are you more in the neutral, not real strong one way or the other? Or are you on the disagreeing side of that's the channel or the pattern that you see education moving? When you please just vote. We'll keep track of it up here.
There's a clicker that doesn't work here.
Oh, I'll switch you out. Thank you.
That was the point.
Just make sure.
Well, and there's a difference between an opinion and an opinion.
No real need for discussion on this when I pop it up. I just want to get a feel for where are you? Some people are very fine with the traditional, straightforward education, the way I got mine delivered, and so I just want to see. So here we go.
You showed.
Okay.
Oh,
We will have these for you as we keep moving, so you know from there. Now, one of the things I got to share again, please, we have to respect everybody's views. There's 20 to 30 to 50 to 150 people in your community that are on the same wavelength as these folks that put themselves in these categories. So we've got to start making sure that we understand it. That's just the community. That's your community, and this is a snapshot of where you see your educational vision going. All right. Gut feeling. I'm asking you point blank. Bowling Green City Schools needs to pursue a bond issue that will address the needs of an elementary school. I'm not asking you whether it's renovation whether it's new, whether it's whatever part you decide is your own vision right now, but let's see what you think. Okay, here we go. Okay. Again, respect level's got to be there. Got to understand people think differently, and might, when you talk with them, might be able to share, yes, I want this, and it may not be the same thing you want. Or no, I don't want anything, and this is why. All right, let's move on to the next one. Again, we'll have these for you as we keep building next time. All right, in your group, just for 3 minutes, I want you to talk a little bit about preferred size of your elementary schools. And pay special attention to 1, 2, or 3, because I'm going to ask you a grade level split in the next question. This just happens to be about the number that you have in those 3, but talk about what it encompasses if you go to 1 school, 2 schools, 3 schools, and what that feel is. If you don't have any thoughts or you already know what you're thinking, you're welcome to click it in. Yes?
I'm not sure I understand. So, for example, the 450 students, 3 schools, does that mean in each of the 3 schools?
In each of the 3 schools, there'd be roughly 450 students.
In each school?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And this one, you'd have 2 of 675, and then 1 school, obviously, you're going to have all of them. I want to get a feel for what you think is too big, what you think is right, and you have to blend what's too big to what's important about the community piece. Yes.
The original bond issue had all the schools in one campus, but they were broken down into grade levels. So maybe one school identified, but they had different grade levels. So
Those are probably things you can talk about in
You can talk in your group about that, but that's something you'll have to decide. Yes, that. Your clicker stopped working. Okay.
It's not working, none of them are working right now.
I'm sorry. I misled.
Well, yeah,
I'm not going to let
wait
you
till
vote.
the next slide.
I'm not going to let you vote
okay?
for a second. We got a block on this one. So talk and clarify in your group, and then I'll let you vote.
I just have a quick question.
Yep.
The comment you made just a second ago was, don't worry about grade level building, because I see if like there's 2 schools, it would be K through 2. And
That's your next question.
5, not 2 schools, half of them go.
Okay, that's your next question.
Okay.
Okay.
That's why I thought I'd better
Like, you gotta get that clarified.
You're good, yeah. You're good. I figured some people would jump a slide ahead of me. That's why I put it in there. Yeah.
I can see A and B, either one of those working. With the way that we laid it out, that 1 through 3 goes to 1 school, and 4 and 5 goes to 1 school. You can do that with other modules. Setting brings down to the 3 schools. The duplication is so massive. Schools, you can see what it's going to be for today, but it's going to be in the future. So you can go through changes later. You can flip it to another one and go more
We have so many here because of the learning center. Yeah, it really houses
That's only going to.
It is.
The education. What is education? I think where you're going to see very high and students are really on the college prep track. Students are going to be really on a very different track and get a lot. And it's already, it's just going to continue. Yeah. So, no, I was kind of hoping that that's what we talked about, but that doesn't change our discussion. So I have a hard time. What's that?
We got what we
All right, wrap up your conversations, please. I want to turn it over to the architect for a second for a little qualification.
Okay, before everybody ready? Don't vote yet. Don't vote until we move the slide, okay?
All right, back up here to Dan, please, for just a second.
Okay, so just a couple of comments before you vote. You can't vote until we change the slide, okay? But everybody's starting to figure that out. So it's just kind of a placeholder. But somebody brought up a point over here that I thought was very valid, that you have to give just a little bit of thought to before you select. Even if you have one school on one site, you can still have the sense of schools within a school. Remember we talked about these pods and such, grade level pods, or maybe 2 grade level pods, that sort of thing. And then another question was brought up here, just for clarification, and you'll see more later, but the 2-school option. We're not asking you yet, is that a K-5 or is it a K-2, 3, 5? That's the next question down the road, okay? So understand, there's still some options as you go, okay?
You go with one, you got a brand new school. They take it out.
We ready?
All right,
Let's get some opinions here.
I just switched it. Now you can vote.
Two times. It's going to go down.
A, B, or C, please.
Yeah.
I didn't see
Yeah,
that roll.
they opened it up.
See that roll.
In the future, I want a microphone, because I don't want to feel like I'm yelling.
No, I don't know. I think there's
I got that karaoke.
Getting closer.
No, where?
There we go.
Okay.
I'm not, I think his voice carries.
School.
It's the teacher
Used to holler above kids.
Say, I got the microphone with karaoke.
Oh, karaoke. Get about half hour. All right, anybody else adding into this one?
Oh, 57.
It should be 57.
Should be about 5 or 6 more. But that's all right, because it'll note that there were 51 responses on this one. All right, here we go. This might make the next question real interesting. So, in your group, back to talking. What's the preferred grade configuration of the elementary schools? You look at, can I go back?
That's 1, 2, and 3 again? Yeah.
If you look at this, that might have been why people were saying, I could go with 2 or I could go with 3, but it might not have been that we were going to have 3 elementaries or 2 elementaries. They may have been thinking, okay, I want to put the pre-K 2 here and the 3, 4 here and the 5, 6 here, or thinking all different kinds of things. So that's why we're asking this question. What's the preferred grade configurations of the elementary schools? Pre-K 5, Pre-K 2 and a 3, 4, or Pre-K 1, a 2, 3, and a 4, 5. You can't vote on this one yet. You have to discuss for a couple minutes. I'll give you 3 minutes.
So, it should be, it's been a long time since I've been. Do you think that that's the appropriate grade?
Yeah, okay. Does everyone see the mistake here?
yes.
Okay, that's supposed to be a 5.
Do we have a marker? Get a marker. Between, yeah, I know.
We just wanted to see if you catch it.
Because I think you go into level, the kid really needs the base, you go from 1, then 2, you build on that base, 4 and 5, and then when you get to 6, you ought to have the base done, and now you can do. So where's 5?
They said that was a group, it was
It's supposed to be 3 to 5, okay, I didn't hear that.
There's weddings, then they can still come over and actually meet here, but it's really just a different, it's really what it's. As a teacher, I would like to, for me, personally, I have religious reasons. I don't have a so they're not going to be here, but I'm in the preschool where I'm at right now. I'd like to see a picture of me to support because there is such a difference in the two. They help each other out, learn from each other, but I believe the last few have to transition like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Transitioning to new buildings is really difficult.
Okay, I'll give you 1 more minute.
It is having more teachers that are the same grade together is really helpful as far as planning and supporting one another and new teachers versus old teachers. I'm gonna be honest, I really like the idea of 2 campuses, then there's supposed to, you mix in all the kids, there's not so much.
All right, gang, I switched it. If you're ready to give us your opinion, what is the preferred grade configuration? In your mind,
Well, that's what I was wondering.
remember this is a 3-5.
Between 2 and 3.
Oops, take it rid of it. You may vote now. Hey, give you.
You're not going to have
Not where we were before. Everybody voted that wants to vote? All right, here we are.
Wow.
I didn't understand this question. Didn't understand this question at all.
Okay. Now, this next set of questions, if you look, is asking you if you could support. And we're going to go through each of the 6. So at this point, we're not asking top choice, and we're just saying, okay, is this a conceptual piece that you could support? So the first one is, I could support the following option for elementary school. 1 consolidated elementary school. Strongly agree, neutral, not real warm to it, or strongly disagree. You may vote now. Oops, glad we are. Everybody voted that wants to? Seeing no more responses, here we go.
Those are my votes distributed.
Interesting slide. But this is a good snapshot of what we need to continue to talk about. Next question. I could support the following option for the elementary school. Renovating. We aren't asking you in what format yet, but renovation of all your elementary buildings. You may vote now. Oh, 20 of you are ahead of me.
Person replacement.
Right, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
There's 55, 56.
Everybody voted that wants to vote. Here we go. good reason why we cannot get down into the nitty-gritty of design yet, because you're not there yet. So when you start asking detail of things, we're still at the conceptual piece of trying to get all that sorted out for you. But good information. Next one. I could support the following option for elementary schools. New, renovate on the sites. For some of you people that haven't been to maybe all of them, some of these were OFCC options, some of these were created and talked about as we've been moving forward with this group. Everybody voted that cares to on this one? Yep, looks like it. Again, I won't say the fun part, but the good part for you will be, we will get all this to you so you can look and compare, because if you're like me, I'd like to have them all laying out there beside each other and trying to figure and analyze, but we'll get to that point later. Next one. I could support the following elementary school, 2 building solutions with 1 on the campus site and 1 on the Conneaut. Help me, Barbara, did I say that right?
What do you mean by campus site?
High school site. High school site and on Conneaut. Two buildings. You're getting the hang of it. I don't even have to tell you to vote guys. Okay, we've slowed. Everyone voted that wants to on this particular. Whoops, we're still going. Okay. Okay, here we go. Just got that last one in, thank goodness. Okay. Will give us some good talking points once we start at the middle school. The next one, a 2 building solution with 1 on the campus and 1 on Kenwood.
Is this new or renovated, either one?
These are new. These were new.
2 building solutions, yeah, these would be considered new in that option, the way it was written out. That's a good point of clarification. Okay. All right, we're up to that number. Anyone else left? I don't think so. I think that's the number. All right, here we go. Okay. Well, let's keep going. We need to get through the rest of them. A 2 building solution with 1 here and 1 on either of the other 2 sites.
This building would stay.
New at 2 of those sites, like
So basically we're talking about location.
Yeah.
But I don't think everything, no, it doesn't.
Okay. Okay.
Good guess, Tim. Good guess.
Yeah. All right. Now, switching gears. You've seen all those strongly, sort of strongly neutral, so on and so forth. These are the 6 options. Now, you may.
I think you missed one. Somebody said we missed one, but I think there was something that the state would not support, that didn't we agree would not be included? I think it was 4
Under 350.
elementary, maybe? We just,
Yeah, that's a bummer that they would.
You do the option of a new building at the campus site in renovation of Crim.
All right, so noted, and we'll have to
There's
bring that
also
up the
the
next
option
time.
of a new building, a 2-building thing, with one in Conneaut and one in Kenwood, which you don't have a.
Right.
Okay.
You're gonna-
Well, let's get through this part tonight then, and we'll jot those 2 other pieces down.
Just do nothing was an option that was posed from before you got involved.
Okay?
No,
Okay.
seriously.
No,
There are a
that
lot of
makes
people
sense.
that supported not doing anything.
Okay, and that's always something that could be. All right, for tonight's purposes, let's go with this one. Now, listen up. On this one, it says, which of the following options could you support? You can click as many as you could support. We're not asking you your one and only. We're asking you, are there multiple things here that interest you, and which ones are they?
Click any number that you like.
You can vote now.
Okay.
Yeah. If you decide you like A and C and you can support those 2, then you can mark those. If you think it's D, E, and F, then you can mark those. However many you think you could support, we'd like to get a feel for that mixture. Yeah. Yes.
You know, I sat in a meeting Saturday for 4 hours with the school board. We need to add an option to do nothing until we're out of bed.
Right.
I mean, it needs to be available.
Okay.
Because there's no money.
Well, when we come back, I just got that news clipping handed to me, so we'll fold that in with.
just pursue bond.
With the other pieces.
I think I
Okay, 51. Anyone else want to multiple choice this one? And the reasoning behind this is to compare these to the individual options so that you'll be able to see if that shakes out and changes anything there. But so noted on the 2 options and the do nothing, either at this point or when before us. But Grant brings up a good point. One of the questions that we asked earlier had to do with, do you support an elementary bond issue option? And if you had the information from the Saturday meeting, that might have been one of the reasons why you clicked strongly disagree. But I just, like I said, I just happened to get that newspaper clipping and the levy information that I think you're talking about, right?
Very aware of.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Now, this is where we need to get a sense. There's about almost 60 of you. But this time, I'm asking which of these options in your mind is your preferred. Not that you couldn't live with something else or whatever. If there is one And this is probably one where maybe we should have put do nothing, but we didn't. So I'll apologize up front for that.
It's also gonna be kind of tough for the ones that didn't bother going through the other buildings.
Yeah.
And see if they're voting,
But they still have a sense. You gotta understand that most people in your community are maybe not as engaged as you folks are, so they're basing their decisions on either what somebody else told them, or what their experiences have been, or what their gut feeling is. So we've got to take all that into account as we work through this. So, which of these options in your mind right now is your preferred elementary option?
Just picking one.
Yeah, this time you can only pick one.
Pick one.
And obviously, we probably at this point will not be taking this answer to the final, so it's not, we're building on it, trying to figure out from there where we need to go and what we need to do middle school, high school. Okay, we're at 49, and I'm all right if you don't have one. It's still, when we calculate this, it'll show how many responses we got, and you'll have to weigh that in as you analyze the pieces and parts. Okay, we're up to 51. Anyone else care to vote on this one? Okay, here we go. All right. A lot of clicking, but I think we were good to get you to a point of having to know that here is where you are, and it's not ready to say we're done and we're finished and we're going from there. So yes.
Can we have another slide or vote of how many are associated with the school as far as teachers and so forth, and those that are not, so we know what percentage of the 60 or whatever is?
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to do that tonight, but
Why would we do that?
demographic-wise.
I didn't hear it.
Well, I think one of the questions that is a natural question to have in any group is, one, most groups are educationally heavy. That's our interest, that's what we do, that's where we go, and that's a very legitimate question. Another question I heard earlier in the evening had to do with, okay, this is a 60-person representative group. Bowling Green's a lot larger than that. How do you get a feel for that? If you looked at the way your bar graphs cut out, you're not clearly heading one way or the other. So how do you get a bigger, better feel, because you guys have got to end up being able to tell a story, and a story that makes sense to your stakeholders so that you can move your district forward in whatever format you decide to move them. So that's why I think, again, being very left-handed, right-brained, you can't come to conclusions quick and say, this is what we're doing, because, again, tonight it's obvious you're not quite there yet. What we'd like to suggest is the next meeting now being at the middle school, high school, gathering and thinking through, and we'll get this information to you next week sometime, so you'll have some time to think about the elementary piece, but then we need to start figuring out, as a master plan, is there anything elementary, high school, middle school in tangent that we need to talk through? Dollars and cents? Okay. The architects will try to put some dollars and cents to some of this, because we know that that also drives some of your wishes and thoughts and dreams. So,
Can I just say something on that note?
yes.
As a former board member, I want you all to be aware that this district has never passed a bond issue for a school over $29 million. So the concept of the idea that you are going to build onto the high school or renovate the high school and then build the elementaries in one fell swoop is probably not going to fly with the community. So in your thought process should probably be that you're going to build one, whichever you choose to be first, and then 5 years later do the other one, because it's not going to pass.
Thank you. Thank you, and you kind of, you kind of queued us up for a later discussion, okay? What we try to do here is create the overall master plan, okay? So that you've really got K-12 all figured out. And at some point, we're going to start talking about that. We're going to start talking about what is your priority, what is your level of tolerance as far as funding and this sort of thing. We're not there yet. But you always want to figure out the big picture and then drill down.
Can I ask you timeline here, because the longer we have discussions, then it takes a month before every next meeting.
You know, I know we're getting.
It takes a long time to put something on the ballot.
Yeah.
Maybe next year, and then it would be another year before you build.
We were thinking 12 to 14 more. No, I'm kidding. Really, more like 2 more meetings, 3 at the most. But we need to start wrapping up, and it's not. I think we've got enough information in your hands, and I think we're starting to narrow things down. I think the high school discussion is going to be easier. Middle school, I don't know that there's anything to talk about there. So I really think we can start wrapping things up, and then we can take it to the finance committee and let them chew on that a little bit. But we need to start feeding some stuff to them. Okay? Jan, did you have a comment first?
We would like to propose February 6th, which is a Wednesday, like tonight, at the middle school. And remember, well, I'm guessing it'll be in the media, cafeteria or
Media Center?
Cafeteria or media center. We'll get something to you on the actual location. The Northwood tour, remember, we'll have David send out confirming the transportation piece after we give him the number in the morning. Because I don't know if he's got finance group people also going or not. But that's the whole, that would be the whole kit caboodle of you on the 16th at 6 o'clock. Okay, so middle school, February 6th, 6:30 for the meeting. Tour?
We need to confirm if
Okay.
we can do that.
So we'll confirm tour and actual location to you. But mark the 6th as the next date. We appreciate your time again tonight and your commitment to both us and your school district. And with that, we did good tonight.
Good
We'll
meeting.
collect the clickers if you want to just stack them on the table. And if you have questions, obviously we'll be around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good meeting.